Scene 1. Darkness in Riverside. When? October 30th, 1966. 9 o'clock p.m. Where? Riverside City College Library, California. In a seemingly ordinary world, darkness lurks. Sometimes it chooses victims by chance. Other times, it's the beginning of an unheard of horror story. Sherry Jo Bates, 18, is seen gathering her belongings in the college library. She looks tired, but smiles as she prepares to leave. Sherry Jo Bates, a hard-working student, has finished her assignments and is heading home. Her father is expecting her at 11 p.m. After midnight, at 5:45 a.m., Sherry's father appears at the Riverside Police Department, his expression filled with worry. Sherry's father, to the police officer, "My daughter hasn't come home, and that's not like her." After 40 minutes, the police officer arrives on campus. The place is desolate, and fog is shrouded in the trees. They find Sherry, Police Officer 1, surprised and shocked. "Oh my God," the police found Sherry dead on campus. More than 40 stab wounds scattered throughout her body, and her neck was almost severed. A strong blow to the skull rendered her unconscious before the stabbing. The detectives search the crime scene. They find traces, unusual shoe prints, military style, in a wristwatch. Size, nothing else. The case was dropped for lack of evidence. But just 1 month later, a strange letter arrived at the police. A letter titled Confession, describing the crime in minute detail. 2 envelopes are opened. The first reads Confession. The second reads Bates Must Die, signed with a Z. Followed by another letter, Bates Must Die, containing clear threats against a second victim, signed with a Z. Scene 2. The Ripper begins. Time, December 20th, 1968. 11 o'clock p.m. Location, Lake Herman Road, Benicia. A police patrol car arrives at the crime scene. A terrified woman stands next to 2 bodies. "Woman, I saw a boy lying next to his car. Then another girl." Victims, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, students. The attacker ordered them to get out, shot David in the head, then followed Betty and shot her 5 times in the back. Scene 3. The phone call. Time, July 4th, 1969. Location, Block Park. Then a public phone booth. Michael Mago and Darlene Farron are sitting in their car. A brown Chevrolet approaches, stops, drives away, and comes back. Michael, "Do you know who owns that car?" Darlene, "No." The brown car stops a distance behind them. A man gets out, carrying a flashlight and a 9mm handgun. He walks toward their car, aiming the flashlight at their faces. Sound of gunfire, 5 shots. Then the killer returns and shoots Michael again. Darlene died half an hour later. Michael survived. A payphone rings at the Vallejo Police Department. The officer picks up closing parenthesis cop on phone, Vallejo Police Department. Zodiac's voice, deep, calm, and eerie. "I want to report a double homicide. A boy and a girl in a brown car were shot with a 9mm Luger pistol. I'm not only responsible for this murder, but for the murder that happened last year as well." A police officer tries to trace the call. "Policeman, sir, who are you?" Zodiac hangs up. The call was traced to a payphone on Spring Street. No trace was found. Michael couldn't describe the killer. The flashlight was pointed at their eyes. 3 things these crimes have in common. The killer is smart, careful, and knows what he's doing. Scene 4. Visibility and transparency. Time, August 1st, 1969. Location, newspaper offices, Vallejo Times-Herald. San Francisco Chronicle. San Francisco Examiner. Editors open strange letters. Editor 1, reading, "Dear Editor, I am the killer of the..." Teenager's last Christmas in Lake Hungen, as well as the girl in July 4th. Editor 2. These are details the press never knew before. The location of the murder, the type of ammunition, even the victim's clothing. Editor 3. Here a code. English letters, drawings, signs. He says whoever cracks it will know who he is. He demands it be published on the front page, or he will commit mass murder. The signature was a circle with 2 crossed lines inside, the famous Zodiac clock logo. Jack Stiles, chief of police, speaks to the press. Jack Stiles, we're not sure the writer is the killer. I asked the killer to send more new details. Time: August 4th, 1969. Location: same newspaper offices. Editor 1 opens a new letter. Editor 1, reading, Dear Editor, this is the Zodiac speaking. For the first time, the killer reveals his name, Zodiac. Time: August 8th, 1969. Location: Donald and Betty Hardin's home in California. Donald and Betty Hardin, a married couple who specialize in cracking the ciphers, working hard on the cipher. Betty: Hardin, I found it. The words are starting to form. Donald Hardin, reading aloud, stunned. I like killing people because it's fun. More fun than killing animals in the jungle, because man is the most dangerous animal. The best part is that when I die, I'll be reborn in heaven, and all the people I've killed will become my slaves. I won't reveal my name, because that would stop the process of gathering the slaves I need for my afterlife. Zodiac went from an anonymous killer to the talk of the town of San Francisco. A vain killer. Scene 5, a murderer's audacity. Time: September 27th, 1969. 6:30 p.m. Location: Lake Berryessa. Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard are sitting by the lake. Cecilia notices something. Cecilia: Brian, there's a strange man staring at us from a distance. Brian: Don't worry. The man disappears and then reappears, walking toward them, holding a gun. He's wearing a hood over his face, sunglasses, a Zodiac emblazoned vest, and a chain with a cross on it. Closing parenthesis Zodiac. In a hoarse, creepy voice, I just escaped from prison and I killed the guard. Give me your car keys and any money you have. Brian gives him his wallet and the car keys. Brian: Take it. Zodiac, pulling a rope. Tie Brian up, Cecilia. After tying them up, he orders them to lie face down. Zodiac, eerily calm. I have to stab you both. Brian: Start with me. Zodiac stabs Brian 6 times, then Cecilia 10 times. Zodiac leaves the scene. Writes on Brian's car door: Vallejo, December 20th, 68. The 7th of April, 69, September 27th, 69. 6:30 by knife, and adds his motto. Half an hour later, at 7 p.m., Zodiac calls the Napa, California Sheriff's Office from a phone booth 27 miles away. Zodiac to the sheriff's officer: I want to report a murder. I just committed it. I'm the Zodiac Killer. The call was traced to a phone booth 1 block from the sheriff's office. The police arrived at the crime scene and found Brian and Cecilia alive and screaming. Cecilia gave a description of the killer before she died 2 days later. He weighed about 105 kilograms and was 180 centimeters tall, but she couldn't make out his features because he was covering his face. The Zodiac's footprints were wing walker boots, worn by Navy or Air Force personnel. Scene 6, the mistake of a lifetime. Time: October 11th, 1969. 9:35 p.m. Location: Washington Street, San Francisco. Paul Stein, a taxi driver, stops for a passenger. Shortly after, 3 teenagers heard gunshots from the taxi. They saw the man get out of the back seat, sit in the front, and tear off a piece of the driver's shirt. Detectives arrive at the scene. Paul Stein was killed by a direct shot to the head. His wallet was missing and his shirt was cut off. Detective, to the teenagers, what exactly did you see? Teenager 1, we saw a man. In his early 40s, about 175 centimeters tall, with a large build, short blonde hair, and glasses. Teenager 2, he was dark-skinned. A few meters from the crime scene, Officer Donald Folk and Officer Eric Zelm notice a man. Officer Folk, stop right there. The man, fair-skinned, between 35 and 45 years old, about 175 centimeters tall, with short blonde hair, stops. Officer Zelm, where are you going? They talked to him for a few seconds and then let him go. The officers thought it wasn't him. The teens described him as dark-skinned. That was the mistake of their lives. Time, October 13th, 1969. Location, San Francisco Chronicle office. A letter arrives at the newspaper. Inside is a piece of Paul Stein's blood-stained shirt. Editor reading, Zodiac speaks. I killed the taxi driver. And here's a piece of his shirt as evidence. If you'd looked hard enough in the park near the crime scene, you'd have found me standing there, taunting you. Editor, oh my God, he's threatening to shoot out the front tires of a school bus. The threat has spread, and there's panic. Parents aren't sending their children on buses anymore. Time, October 20th, 1969. Location, San Francisco morning TV program, Melvin Bailey. The famous lawyer is on live television. The phone rings. Announcer, we have a call on the air. Zodiac's voice, later revealed to be not the real Zodiac, but trying to imitate him. I want to kill the children. Investigators have enlisted the help of someone who heard the Zodiac's voice. The real one, including Nancy Slover and Brian Hartnell, confirmed that this was not his voice. The call was from a psychiatric hospital when, November 8th, 1969, where police office, a new cipher Z340 arrives, consisting of 340 characters. This cipher has been unsolved for over 50 years. When, December 2020, where code-breaking lab, cryptographers Sam Black, David Oranchek, Jarl Van finally succeed. Sam Black, reading in amazement, I hope you had a lot of fun trying to catch me. It wasn't me on the TV show. I'll have the slaves I kill working for me in the afterlife. David Oranchek, and most importantly, he says, 2 police officers stood up and spoke to me minutes after the Paul Stein murder. It's the mistake of a lifetime. The officers who interviewed him after the Paul Stein murder didn't know he was Zodiac. He was right in front of their eyes. Scene 7, Abduction and Jealousy. Time, March 22nd, 1970. Location, Highway. Kathleen Jones, 7 months pregnant, is driving with her 10-month-old daughter. A car follows her, its driver honking at her. A man approaches her and tells her that her front tire has a problem and offers to help. He fixes it. Kathleen, thank you so much. Minutes later, the tire comes off her car. The man reappears and offers to drive her. Kathleen sits next to him in his car, her daughter on her lap. The man drives for an hour and a half, passing 2 gas stations. Closing parenthesis. Kathleen, in a trembling voice, why didn't you stop? Where are you taking us? He takes advantage of the car stopping. She opens the door, and she and her daughter jump out, running away. Voiceover. When she called the police, Kathleen recognized the Zodiac among the suspect's photos. Then, she found her car burned out. The Zodiac confirmed Kathleen's abduction in a subsequent letter dated July 24, 1970. Scene 8. The Journalist and Jealousy. Time, 1970 location, the San Francisco Chronicle office, Paul Avery, a reporter, sits surrounded by documents and articles about the Zodiac. Paul Avery, to himself, Zodiac ... and Cherry Joe Bates. There's a connection. After much research, Paul Avery has linked the Zodiac to the murder of Cherry Joe Bates, a crime not initially attributed to the Zodiac. Newspapers are published with headlines featuring Paul Avery's articles about the Zodiac and the Bates case. A letter reaches Paul Avery, reading in a low voice, fear etched on his face. From your secret friend, you're doomed. You yourself know my name? I'll tell you ... Why do you want to reveal who I am and ruin the game? He looks at the signature, the Zodiac logo. Paul panicked. He bought a gun. All the reporters wore buttons that said, I am not Paul Avery. The Zodiac was extremely jealous of Paul Avery's fame. Time, March 16, 1971 location, Los Angeles Times office. A new letter arrives, discussing the Cherry Joe Bates murder, but crediting the police with uncovering it and ignoring Paul Avery. This was the last confirmed crime the Zodiac committed in real life. After that, it was just a war of letters. Scene 9, The Eternal Mystery. Time, January 29, 1974 location, police office. The last letter signed by the Zodiac arrives, claiming 37 victims. Voiceover. On May 6, 1986, another unconfirmed letter claims 100 victims. Officially, only 6 confirmed victims of the Zodiac. Several photos of suspects appear. Arthur Lee Allen, Gary Francis Post, and others. Arthur Lee Allen was the leading suspect. He owned the same typewriter the Zodiac used and the same brand of watch. His close friend, Don Cheney, informed the police that Arthur was talking about his desire to randomly kill couples and write letters to the police. Arthur once claimed, I am the Zodiac, and threatened to kill a taxi driver before killing Paul Stine. He was in the Navy, which is consistent with the wing Walker boot prints. Shows a screen grab of a confrontation between Arthur Lee Allen and the teens who witnessed Paul Stine's crime. Teenager 1, no, that's not him. His prints didn't match. His saliva DNA on the Zodiac letters didn't match Arthur's sample. His handwriting didn't match. Arthur died in 1992, and all doubts were buried with him. In 2021, the Kissbreakers group of experts claim to have identified the Zodiac. Gary Francis Post, a U.S. Air Force veteran with a history of violence. A news anchor claimed that Gary had confessed to him that he was the Zodiac in an interview. But U.S. police have never officially confirmed this and have refused to compare the DNA. Gary died in 2018. Final scene, Shadow of the Beast. The Zodiac case was officially closed in 2004, but it was reopened in 2007. It remains open in Riverside, Napa, and other locations. Zodiac wasn't just any ordinary killer. He was brilliant, daring, and jealous. He was the only one who broke the rule. A criminal must leave a trail. Zodiac was sending the trail to the police, and yet he was never caught. Zodiac's voice. I won't reveal my name, because that would stop the process of gathering the slaves I need from my afterlife. The scene ends. A psychological analysis of the most prominent aspects of his personality and behavior. 1. Grandiosity and narcissistic supply. Zodiac was so hungry for recognition and attention that he not only killed, but also communicated directly with the police and the press. 1-5. He sent detailed letters about his crimes, including information known only to the killer and the police. To prove that he was the perpetrator, he first revealed his name, Zodiac speaking, when provoked by Police Chief Jack Stiles, asserting that he was an arrogant killer, but he also gets provoked. This demonstrates extreme arrogance and an intolerance of doubt about his abilities or identity. He would leave his distinctive signature, a circle with two crossed lines, at the end of each message, a logo for a famous watch brand called Zodiac 56, confirming his quest for distinction and recognition, his desire to appear and speak on a television show with renowned attorney. Melvin Bailey demonstrates his desire for fame and control over the public narrative. 2. High intelligence and manipulation. Zodiac was described as very brilliant and daring. 816. He was distinguished by his ability to commit crimes without leaving a trace that would lead investigators to him. 517. He would even send the police the trail, and they still couldn't catch him. He would send complex codes, such as Z340, which took over 50 years to crack. 511, demonstrating his intelligence and advanced thinking. His ability to manipulate investigations is evident in his changing patterns of victims from couples to single individuals, causing him to leave investigators looking for something while he's in another place. His admission in Cipher Z340 that he was not the one who called the TV show demonstrates his desire to correct misinformation about himself and maintain his prestige. His revelation that two officers met him after the Paul Stein murder, without being identified, also demonstrates his cynicism toward authorities and his cleverness in evading them. 12.3 Sadism and pleasure from killing. Zodiac clearly stated in one of his deciphered ciphers, "I like killing people because it's fun. More fun than killing animals in the jungle, because man is the most dangerous animal." This statement reveals clear sadism and a pleasure in violence. His statements that his victims would become his slaves in heaven demonstrate a disordered mind, a sense of absolute control, and possibly paranoid beliefs about the afterlife. 611. His actions in the Lake Berryessa murder, tying up the two victims and brutally stabbing them after asking their permission, then riding on the car, demonstrate a theatrical and sadistic dimension in the execution of his crimes. 4. Arrogance and defiance of authority. Zodiac did not hesitate to challenge Police Chief Jack Stiles to request more details about the crimes. 5-6. His phone calls to the police after one of the crimes from a phone booth, just 1 block away from the police station, demonstrate unusual boldness and a desire to provoke the authorities. 7-8. He provoked the police in his messages, claiming to have been standing in a park next to the crime scene, taunting them. 5. Jealousy and possessiveness. His extreme jealousy became apparent when journalist Paul Avery managed to link him to the murder of Sherry Jo Bates. He sent a letter addressed to Avery, threatening him and leaving him with a question in a reproachful tone. "Why do you want to reveal who I am and ruin the game?" He then deliberately ignored Avery in a subsequent letter and credited the police with uncovering the crime, as if to say, "Just as I made you famous and brought you fame, I can take all that spotlight away from you again." This demonstrates a pathological need to own the narrative around him and an intolerance of sharing his achievements. 6. Threats and instilling terror. Zodiac threatened to commit mass murder if his messages and codes were not published in the newspapers. His threat to attack a school bus full of children and blow out its front tires caused widespread fear and panic among the people of San Francisco. 10-11. These threats were intended to spread as much fear and psychological control as possible over society. In short, the Zodiac can be described as an intelligent, narcissistic, sadistic, and highly egotistical serial killer who enjoyed mind games with authorities and the media. He was driven by a deep need for control, recognition, and defiance, and derived morbid pleasure from his actions and the fear he spread. His complex personality and his ability to escape punishment for more than half a century made him a psychological and criminal enigma that continues to fascinate 216.